Yeah, well, this is a really good result. It's quite frankly not a surprise. We've talked about it many times on this show together that these drugs would be most effective if used very early in the course of disease, and probably even more effective if used as a prophylaxis, almost as a vaccine. And we've talked about using these antibodies as a bridge to a vaccine. This is, in fact, how we were using the antibodies targeting Ebola. We found that they were very effective when used early in the course of the disease. They were effective as a prophylaxis when they were used. They were less effective when used late in the course of the disease, because once you get too much virus on board, you just physically can't mop it all up with an antibody drug by infusing it at that point. I think one way that we might be able to use this is in patients who either can't get access to the vaccine but are at high risk of a bad outcome or ineligible for the vaccine for some reason. So you could prophylax patients. This should last at least a month, maybe a little bit longer than that, and give patients a one-dose infusion. So you think of patients who are coming in for other infusions like chemotherapy or dialysis patients, where you can deliver a one dose of this drug and protect them for a full month, either until they can get vaccinated or in addition to vaccination if they're at very high risk of COVID.
What do you make of the letters we saw come from Amazon yesterday? You saw them both offer their own support to try to roll out the vaccine across the country, but also to try to get access to the vaccine early for its employees. It cuts both ways in terms of some people saying they're jumping the line, others saying they can do this efficiently, and if they can get this into the arms of hundreds of thousands of people who may actually be vectors insofar as they're out there on the front line and also maybe deserving because they're on the front line.
Yeah, well, look, Amazon has a lot of essential employees who've been keeping this economy going through this crisis. We're all ordering a lot more from Amazon right now because we're not going out and shopping as much. And that is, that's following good guidance, trying to stay home more and do more ordering online. So their workers are out there in the front lines. I think both are true. I think Amazon can help with distribution. I think Amazon does have a lot of employees who are at high risk because of what they've been doing through this entire crisis. Amazon made a very deep commitment to trying to prevent COVID among its employees. They literally built their own CLIA lab, their own high complexity laboratory to do testing of all their employees across all their different sites. So they've invested a lot of money in trying to build out their own internal resources to do more surveillance, more testing of their employees. So it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to get access to the vaccine to continue to protect those employees.
One of the other things we saw just yesterday is President Biden signing so many different executive orders, but one of which is to use the Defense Production Act to try to speed along access to the vaccine, but also better testing, PPE and the like. If you were advising the president right now in terms of how they're going to do this, in terms of the communications they're going to have with companies, what would you be telling him that he needs to do? And what companies does he need to be working with?
Well, look, the DPA has been used literally dozens of times and probably over 100 times at this point by the Trump administration, mostly to get in front of lines on contracts, so to prioritize government contracts over private sector entities. I think that there are ways they could use the DPA more immediately to increase supply of certain things that would help. One is masks. I don't see why we can't be doing more to try to provide N95 masks, particularly to high-risk individuals. Especially as these new variants spread, I think masking is going to become more important. The material used in HEPA filters is the same kind of blow fill that would be used in an N95 mask. We may be able to find more domestic production for those masks and do more there. The other thing that I think they're looking at is needles. If you can use a more graduated syringe, so think of a tuberculin syringe, a syringe that's used for a TB test, which is a very graduated syringe. It draws up only a little bit with each pull. If you use a syringe like that to vaccinate people, you put a different tip on it, obviously, you could probably be more likely to preserve doses within these vials. And so that would be another way to try to extend the supply of the vaccine stock, is to distribute different kinds of syringes. That's another place I think they could potentially use the DPA. I think they're actually looking at that.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.